Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Welcome back to my channel. I hope that all of you are having a good day. It's time for yet another episode of my fragrance challenge called 300 different scents in 300 days. And basically in this challenge I'm trying to wear 300 different scents as my scent of the day for 300 consecutive days. And this episode of the challenge will cover days 64 to day 70. My scent of the day for day 63 of this challenge was from Paco Rabanne, and it's called 1 Million Lucky. Now, I've never been the biggest fan of the 1 Million line, I have to admit that, but there are two fragrances in this line that I really like a lot, and 1 Million Lucky is one of them. The other is 1 Million Prive, and unfortunately, as far as I know, both those two fragrances have been discontinued and are pretty hard to find, especially the Prive one. 1 Million Lucky, you know, it still pops up here and there at some discounters, so you can probably get your hands on a bottle of this if you look hard enough. But if you don't know how this fragrance smells, it's quite different to most of the other members of the 1 Million line. It's still quite a sweet fragrance. You get a lot of honey with this one, a lot of plum, some cedar, some cashmere, and there's also some ozonic notes in this fragrance. Oh no, it's quite sweet, fragrance that's great for cold weather usage, especially late autumn and early spring. For day 65 of the challenge I went with a fragrance from the house of Lalique called White in Black. Now this fragrance, I had my eye on this one for quite a while, but I just couldn't find it anywhere, and luckily enough for me, about a couple of weeks ago, I found this fragrance on one of the Facebook groups where people were selling off their fragrances. Basically, this is a fragrance that's almost brand new. It's been unsealed and sprayed a couple of times, and the guy who was selling it, didn't like it enough, so he sold it off to me. And if you don't know what this one is, this is a sort of a fragrance that's heavily inspired by Parfum de Marly's Layton. Think of this one as a sort of a designer take on the Layton DNA. It's a bit sweeter compared to Layton, a little bit easier to wear, slightly more airy, slightly fresher, but all in all quite close to Layton with decent performance, nothing spectacular. I'm still testing this one out, but so far I've been getting somewhere between 6 to 7 hours of performance on my skin with a moderate projection in the first 1 hour. For day 66 I went with a fragrance from the house of Missoni called Missoni per Homme, or in some places they call it Missoni Parfum. This is another fragrance that's heavily inspired by a more famous one. In this case it's a designer fragrance, and it's Bleu de Chanel EDP. Some people call this one a clone of Bleu de Chanel EDP. I wouldn't go as far. I would say that this is like a heavily inspired version of Chanel EDP, Bleu de Chanel EDP. This feels a little bit sweeter, not as woody and not as creamy as the original, but still very close. It's a very likable fragrance, super versatile with let's call it decent performance. I get something like 6 to 7 hours on skin with this one, with a moderate projection in the first 1 hour. Price tag here though is the selling point of this fragrance, because this sells for roughly about a quarter of the price of the original, which makes it a pretty decent deal, and you get a magnetic cap like you get with most other Missoni fragrances. So if you're looking for an alternative to Bleu de Chanel EDP for a quarter of the price, definitely check out Missoni per Homme. For day 67 of the challenge, I wanted to go with something that has a strong rose note in it, and so I picked up Dolce & Gabbana The One Mysterious Night. This is a part of their exclusive line of fragrances, from the One line. There are two others, I think, but so far in my collection I've only had this Mysterious Night. This is a very sort of fragrance that carries a lot of the Middle Eastern DNA. You got a very strong rose note in here that's mixed with agar oud. You got lots of saffron as well. Some amber on the dry down, some amber sweetness. All in all, it's quite a jammy, sweet type of rosy fragrance. It's very, very loud. very strong projection for about 2 hours. The total performance on skin isn't like super impressive. I get about 8 hours out of it, but as I said, it's a very loud fragrance. If you don't know how this smells, but if you are familiar with the way that something like you know, Xerjoff's Modern World smells, this is pretty similar to that one. Also carries some of that DNA of Louis Vuitton's Ombre. For day 68 of the challenge, I went with one fragrance that carries my most favorite fragrance DNA, and it's from the Dior Homme line, and it's called Dior Homme Original. This is the easiest one to wear out of the trio, you know, Dior Homme Original, Dior Homme Intense, and Dior Homme Parfum, and probably the most versatile. It's slightly less sweet, you don't get any leather with this one, any rose, it's not as dark as Dior Homme Intense or Dior Homme Parfum. It's more airy, feels fresher, and as I said, I think this is the most versatile out of the three fragrances. This can be worn pretty much all year round. It's a signature scent worthy fragrance with decent performance. I get about 7 hours of performance out of this one. You know, it's, as I said, super versatile because you can wear this to the office, you can wear this to a night out, you can wear it in the summer, you can wear it in the winter. All in all, a fantastic fragrance that carries my most favorite fragrance DNA, and that's being the lipsticky powdery type of iris. For day 69 of the challenge, I went with a fragrance from the house of Zara, and it's called Zara the Tobacco Collection, Rich, Warm and Addictive. This is the 2021 edition of this series of fragrances. There are quite a few in that line. This fragrance is all about the mix of rum, vanilla and tobacco. It's dark, it's super sweet, almost to the point of being like sticky sweet, very warm, very cozy type of scent. That's great for you know, winter usage, for cold weather usage. Performance here is decent, maybe slightly above average, with okay projection in the first 1 hour, and I don't know if you're still able to get this one, if they're still selling this one, but when this was sold, it was almost like costed next to nothing, roughly something like $20 or so. Very sweet and very nice fragrance that's perfectly unisex in my opinion, and this was my scent of the day for day 69 of the challenge, this Zara Tobacco Collection, Rich, Warm and Addictive. And my scent of the day for day 70 of this challenge was from the house of Givenchy, and it's called Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Prive. This is the, you know, a slightly different take on the its bigger brother, the Givenchy Gentleman EDP. Very similar to that one, but this is a little bit sweeter. You got a whiskey note in here that adds a very nice amount of booziness. You also got a nice chestnut note along with the you know, the other main players, as with the EDP variant, you know, vanilla and iris, of course. Super sweet, slightly dark, slightly more mature version of the EDP fragrance. I like this one a lot. Unfortunately, unlike with the EDP version, which for me has always been a beast performing fragrance, this one is more, let's call it a strong fragrance. I get about 7 to 8 hours of performance with moderate projection in the first hour, hour and a half. But this is a fantastic scent profile that works great in cold weather and especially at night, in my opinion. So guys, this was all for yet another episode of my fragrance challenge called 300 different scents in 300 days. In this episode, I covered days 64 to day 70 of this challenge. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button and also the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future contents. And I also hope that you're going to join me in my next video. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.